Welcome to the dojo, baby. This is Joe Doe.
This podcast is brought to you by Emotional Damage.
Welcome to the Zoom food. Yeah. Step and wipe your feet. This a focus on.
Well, they come through different avenues. They find me online and request a consultation, or they train with me in mystery, right? I have a partnership collaboration thing going on with Mystery from the VH1 show, from the book The Game. So we get clients that way as well. He's got a worldwide reach, way bigger than my reach.
So it's going to arrive probably on Friday. It's Wednesday today, maybe in 2 more days.
Great. That's great.
I do see only one cover. And yes, the thing is, we do have very few genuine coaches in India. Most of the coaches, they are just teaching stuff, learning from AI, from ChatGPT and online. Even I pursued a relationship coaching. It was called the Relationship Dynamics. But pretty much most of the coaching program, it was taken from, the coach, other coaches. Like a bit of that was from Tony Robbins events. A bit of the portions were from this book called Emotional Intelligence from Daniel Goleman. And there was not much about the relationship in that coaching program. It was more about focusing on yourself, though that is important as well. But I was looking to learn more about couple dynamics and relationship. It was a very small chunk of how does the relationship work. But yeah, so
Well, this book was
this.
Yeah.
If people are reaching out to you, probably they feel that gap of good coaches who can advise, especially men. Definitely they might be struggling.
Yeah, there's a very difficult needle to thread in my industry, right? And that's, how do you teach a guy sort of the technicalities of the dating game, the architecture, the systems, the science of love and relationships and courtship, and also the art of it, right? It's not just science. This is not just a book of science. There's an artistic side to it as well. How artistic or how scientific a guy wants to get with his quote unquote game is completely up to him. But I think a blend is the ideal way to do it. But can you teach that, the art and science of attraction, or the art and science of attracting your ideal partner, and make it not sleazy, and make it something that you don't feel like you have to pinch your nose while you learn it, something that you are excited to recommend to friends and family, something that can be run sustainably over a long period of time. Because my belief is, if something is manipulative or sleazy, you're only going to be able to do it for so long, and then you're going to feel bad about it. You're going to feel gross. You're going to, mess up your karma, if you will. Even if you don't believe in karma in the truest sense, psychologically, you're going to have a difficult time with it, unless you're a sociopath. I believe there are people that are sociopathic that can just look at, okay, this is the outcome I want. I don't care how I get that outcome. If I have to lie, cheat, and steal to get it, well, God bless you. Good luck, And hey, maybe you figured out something about the universe and life that I haven't. But for me, I was raised to be a good person and to be honest and respectful. I'm not a perfect person, but I do my best. And that is something that I'm very excited about, is I want people to read this book and go, wow, like, this book gets into a lot of technicalities, and at the same time, it's very respectful to women. It's non-cringy. I want this to be read and endorsed by women, and that's very, very rare in my industry. Most coaches in my industry say, I don't care what women think. Women don't really know what they want anyway. This is what works. And I want to break that mold. I want women to champion my book and say, this is a guy I can stand behind. So,
all right. So I have a good question to start this.
yeah.
And I think you'll really enjoy this question. Well, first of all, welcome everybody to Zoom Fu.
Hello, Sasha.
I'm your host. I am Zoom Fucius.
Okay.
So we're
You're what? Can we write that down? How do you spell that?
so like Confucius. So Zoom Fu. The thing behind Zoom Fu is that, like, it's like Kung Fu for a Zoom.
I got it.
We're out here doing Zoom Fu. We're Zoom Fuing, and my name is Zumfucius, like Confucius, because I am enlightened today by you guys. So thanks for having me. I thank me for having you, and vice versa. And we're all grateful to be here together. But here's the initial question that I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna introduce you to Sasha as well. She's cool. But here's the question. First of all, how do you create attraction? That's a short answer. Just let's give a short answer on that. But then let's get really deeper into what are the biggest mistakes men make after initial attraction is established. I think that's a good point to start.
So, do you want me to lead? I take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so first of all, I don't know if we can truly create attraction or if attraction is something that we uncover. I'm not really sure if it's something that doesn't exist and we sort of bring it into existence, or if it sort of already exists between two people and we may fail to uncover it by not communicating properly, not conveying our personality well. So let me just start with that caveat. Number two, I think that there is some well-documented science out there that outlines sort of what women tend to be attracted to across different cultures and time. There are variations there, but there is some data to support that women are attracted to a certain type of guy, a certain type of behavior, and so forth. But that's usually where dating advice stops. It's just, here's what women are attracted to. We know that according to the science. Therefore, this is the guy you should be. I think that the variations and the nuances of attraction, as far as what is a woman as an individual, what is she drawn to as an individual, I think that's more what interests me. This gets into a whole different topic of a whole different section of mate selection theories, if you will. The entire dating industry is built on evolutionary and economic mate selection theory. It treats the dating market like any other market, like the stock market. Everybody has a certain amount of value, and everyone's sizing each other up, and everyone's looking to get the most bang for their buck. And if they can get someone of quote unquote higher value, they'll trade you in for that higher value person, right? And usually value is defined by strength, money, resources, social connections, pre-selection, other women wanting you, right? All you have to do is post a selfie on Instagram with 12 models, and then every woman will want you because there you are with your 12 models on Instagram, right? There's another mate selection theory called ideal mate theory. And it's the idea that every woman sort of has an ideal in her mind of what she's looking for, and she has an ideal of the way she would like the courtship process to go down. And even a woman that does not have a very set in stone ideal, that in and of itself is an ideal. It's an ideal of open-mindedness. It's an ideal of flexibility. She's open to meeting many different types of guys. So I like to focus more on that, on ideal mate theory. I will focus on the mainstream mate selection stuff with guys a little bit. If a guy's really needs to improve his body language and he's really demonstrating a lot of weakness, quote unquote, right? Something that across the board, many women are going to be repelled by. I will talk to him a little bit about the traditional mate selection theories, embracing a little bit more masculinity as it's traditionally defined. But once you get those foundations in place, let's get into the details. Let's get into the nuances of how you want to convey your personality. What things do you find attractive about yourself, and how do we package that in a compelling way?
Yeah, that was something to think about and really valuable. Sasha, would you like to give us your input?
Sure. So I agree with what you're saying when you say that when it comes to dating, people, it's kind of surface level. They have these ideals. This is the type of partner that I'm looking for. And I feel like people need to get into more detail about like what happens later on after, you're dating for a while. Like what's next, like what's next after the honeymoon phase? Because that's always the best part of a relationship. So yeah, that's my input.
Nice. No, and I talk about that in my book too. So if we're talking specifically attraction, I call that element one. I believe there are four key elements to a loving relationship and even a casual relationship, just a hookup, right? There are four key elements that we want to grow to equilibrium. These are terms that I define in my book here. which Sasha, I've never met you before, but I do hope you check this out. I do want women to read my book and I want women to endorse my book. So I do hope you check this out. But attraction specifically is one element. What you're talking about too is what I would call element two, like a deeper psychological bond, right? Okay, I'm attracted to this guy. He makes me feel a certain type of way, but what else? What do we have going on deeper there? And this is where it gets infinitely deep as well. And just to clarify too, ideal mate theory, IMT, is something that I talk about in here as well. Meenakshi, I hope that you're gonna pay particular close attention to that part. I think you'll appreciate the mate selection theory chapter.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, definitely. What I have experienced, like how people pursue after they see or find a person attractive, is what I've seen in majority of Indian population, irrespective of men and women, is most of their ideal dating partner is mostly influenced by the type of cinematic view that we have, like how it's shown in movies, how you pursue a relationship. So when I was in my teenage years, that time to pursue a woman, irrespective of her saying no, was idolized. That you got to be after her. You got to prove that you love her. Just you don't accept a no from her, and you keep pursuing until she says yes. So that was the ideal scenario. But now the world we live in, it's changed. That's what we see in movies and cinemas, that women are attracted to guys too. And sometimes they make very obvious moves, like checking out their bodies and just directly going out to them and initiating the conversation. Ideally, it was other way around. Even if a woman likes a man, she would be shy about it and she would hide her feelings. So that's the trend that people follow, which is why a lot of people don't know something which is not shown in movies, that what if I get a girl, what will I do? Which is why people emotionally shut down, because they don't know the story after. And sometimes just getting the girl is the end of the story, and they don't know what comes next. And wherever there is something, what do you call it, some unknown zone, people have 50-50 chances. Either it can work, maybe they still keep pursuing the way they have seen their parents pursuing the relationships, and it can go in the right direction. Sometimes they can be really toxic as partners, because they see that if my mother is able to keep up with this behavior like my father shows, why is she not able to do it? Probably she's not being trained well to pursue a relationship other than being a girlfriend or something like that. And that's when it goes into the direction where it can just break apart. So which is why I was telling you earlier that men might be reaching out just because they don't know this part. How do you pursue a relationship when you get a girl, or after you get married? Because that's the hard part. Now you have a partner with you, she has got real emotion, and everything that you don't know how to deal with, she's getting impacted because of it. And sometimes it really hurts people when men don't have solution to the problem that they are able to see right in front of them. So they don't know who to ask, because if they ask wrong people, wrong solution can even make the situation worse.
those are great. Those are great points. Because if you have, we always focus on in dating. We always focus on, okay, how do I attract a mate? How do I get a mate? But then once you have the mate, then now it's like, all right, well, I have the mate, so I don't need to do anything else. Or maybe just like, I succeeded, and now what? Now I have this person that loves me or likes me a lot, and vice versa. But then perhaps there's been a mistake in the selection process where now we don't get along, or like our values are vastly different, and then now it's just not a match. And so, but now you're invested because you have this person that it took you so long to find, and then they accept you and you accept them. What do you think would be the next step here? Because I'm sure a lot of people are in this scenario right now as we speak.
So just to clarify, the four elements from the vortex of love, the vortex of love, how to get a woman to fall in love with you, could arguably have been subtitled how to get a woman to fall in love and stay in love with you. Because I don't just take a guy from meet to falling in love. These 4 elements ideally want to be worked on for life. The term equilibrium I borrowed from star formation. When a star forms, it's fusing hydrogen and helium gas, and it starts putting off energy. When that energy output is balanced with the star's tendency to collapse in on itself, it reaches what's called equilibrium, and it will actually burn at a steady rate until it runs out of fuel. And what happens oftentimes in relationships is someone will pursue the other person, Meenakshi, as you said, to get them in love, to get them in a relationship, and then they just sort of coast, right? So equilibrium is a point where we can bring attraction to a point where it's somewhat self-sustaining, where, okay, this person is invested in enough in me that I don't have to try so hard to maintain it. The fire of attraction is burning bright, right? But if we let it fizzle out, it can run out of fuel. So equilibrium is the point we want to get to with these 4 elements for love to take place. But we want to constantly fuel these 4 elements for the lifetime of the relationship.
Yeah,
I can get into, go ahead, Meenakshi.
Yeah, I do believe the same, that you need to make sure that the relationship's sustainable and it reach a point where it doesn't neither drain you or you have to keep making efforts. Because if you see practically, technically, and everything else apart from love and relationship, it does also require growth. So if I'm just so focused on my relationship, it's draining all my energy. How will I work? If I don't work, if I'm not making money, again, the relationship is the first thing that which will get impacted. Then if I'm not working on my health, physical health, again, a relationship is directly getting impacted. So if I need to make sure that this relationship, why do people want a stable relationship? I mean, going out, meeting new people, it's fun, exciting. It's a new person every day. It's like if you are in a relationship, you can be relaxed about your own growth and looks and everything else about you. But when you're going out everywhere, you're experimenting, it also puts you in a spot that, you know what, I am going to embrace this personality today. But why is that so draining? Meeting new people, finding new people, because at some point of time, you need to make sure that the relationship is stable. Otherwise, how will you focus on every other area of your life? If I'm constantly it's like hitting the gym every day with the same kind of physical strength. If I keep hitting the gym with 5 kg dumbbells, when will I progress? When will I do progressive overloading? So nobody would want to go back to that zero position, especially when you think that your work and probably your own growth is more important. Because at some point of time, your emotions and your vulnerability can go up to that extent that where you can't talk to strangers like that. Everyone is there to take advantage of you. Not everyone, that's an overstatement. Some people are out there to take advantage of your vulnerability. How would you make sure that I'm choosing the right person to be vulnerable with?
I think what you're describing too, Meenakshi, is an ideal that most people hold, right? So most people, I think, want some form of stability in a relationship. Most people want the other partner to put in effort. They want to feel like the relationship is growing, that you're not just in love, but you're growing in love together, right? But I do believe there are some people out there that are not as motivated. They're not as driven professionally, and they're happy to find someone, and their partner may have a similar ideal where they find each other, they fall in love, and they just sort of live their lives and they don't really consciously think a lot about this stuff. Maybe they continue to grow together, or maybe things kind of flatline, but they made a commitment to each other. They want to stay together, they want to be together, and they're happy just sort of independently coexisting with one another. So that's just a minor little nuance I want to throw out there, because I believe that what you just said is true for at least 90% or more of people. But when you're 10 years in, 20 years into a marriage, for example, maybe things aren't so great all the time, but you've made a commitment to one another. You've made a commitment to stay together. You have children. You've invested into one another. So I do think that what you're describing is ideal, though, for sure. That's how I would like that as well. I want to be in a relationship where we're growing together and putting in effort, not letting everything fizzle out.
What do you think in this scenario? Like you said, the very first point that you said, that some people are not too ambitious about their growth in work. How does that work if one person is looking to grow just in love and relationship? Maybe they're going, the one person is like, I want to explore more about love and relationship, and the person who is more driven towards growth, because these two are, what I feel, they are two conflicting scenarios. If
And
you
I
are
would say,
driven,
and
generally
also
speaking,
there's a lot of people who are not into self-improvement like we are, so
yeah,
it's, like, are those people, I guess maybe that wouldn't be the niche, right? Or what do you
yeah,
think?
yeah, no, I see,
yes,
like I think generally speaking, birds of a feather flock together, and you want someone who's aligned with you in the core values department. But some people have juxtaposed uh, ways of looking at themselves and their partner. For example, some men believe that it's their role to be the ambitious one and to work, and it's the woman's role to just be sort of the lover and supporter of his masculine energy, right? These are people who have different ideals of the way they want to conduct their lives. But if their ideals match up in the partner department, then it works. So, what I, the reason that I bring up this nuance is because what we see often in this field is everybody giving their advice on how relationships should be. In a perfect world, the ideal is you both have the same goals, you both have the same ambition level, you both are contributing equally to the relationship. And what I worry is sometimes people that are lonely and that aren't as proactive about thinking through these ideas, they hear some of this and they feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to find love because I'm not like this. And the reality is, I think a lot of relationships work where they quote unquote shouldn't. There's times where I meet two people and I'm like, wow, I totally understand how these two people are together. They're like two peas of the same pod, right? But then there's times where I meet two people and I'm like, I don't know how the hell they're making this work, but it's working. They're in love, right? So, like, these ideals that we're talking about are great. And I agree with you. I want to, this is also kind of what the vortex of love is about here. It's not just this is what I think you should do, or here's the ideal relationship. This is truly customizable and adaptable. If you are some lonely, introverted person that spends a lot of time indoors and you think the world is all messed up and you don't even want to partake in all this nonsense, guess what? There's a woman out there that feels the same. She's sitting in her home right now, not going out, looking out the window like, nope, not going out there. You need to find her, right? Like, anyway, I'm very much a fan of looking at the deviations from the norm and the deviations from the ideals, because that's where I think there's a really underrepresented paradigm that can offer a lot of hope to people that think I'm not an alpha male, I'm not ambitious, I don't know how to grow in love with somebody, therefore I won't even try. I'm just going to opt out of the game.
Deviations from the ideal. Tell me more.
Meenakshi, I want to make sure that you jump in here and get your 2 cents in, and Sasha as well. Sasha's patiently listening over here and observing. I would love to hear from Sasha as well.
yeah, I've deviated from ideal every time.
Mm,
Like if the definition of ideal love is a nice guy, a caring guy, I've deviated. Like let's look at the person's potential. Okay, he's mean to everyone. Can he be good to just one person? That's myself.
mm,
Okay, he drinks and smokes and do all the bad stuff. Can he be good for just one person in the entire universe? And it did not really work out, because what I believe, deviation from ideal can be just a little bit. It shouldn't be poles apart. Meaning, if a person, like the scenario that we picked, there are two people. One is not as passionate for self-development and growth. One is. Then at some point of time, when you're growing mentally, when you are learning new things, and if you see a person, if they are not doing things that they should be doing as part of developing their own personality, you will begin to see the flaws and you will keep correcting them, not because you want to correct them because you have been to some personality development program. It's because you want the best for them. If I am a coach, if I can make people's life better, why not make my partner's life better? And if I tell them and they think that maybe the person doesn't like me, or maybe he's outgrowing me, so that self-doubts will creep into the person who's not working on themselves. And that is something that needs to be handled by the person who's going through self-doubt. No amount of assurance that I can give to the person would look real to them, because deep down, yes, I want them to improve. And first step to ensure that the person is improving is to tell them the truth. You have to face that, yes, they need to change something. It's not that they have to change their entire personality. I'm no longer in love with them, but yes, I want them to grow. Is the reason, because the time is also passing by. Maybe now I'm at a level where we have this much gap in our personalities. If I am growing and she's not, before this gap becomes this much, and I feel like, who am I dealing with? She doesn't even understand this much. Before that gap increases, I want to make sure that I narrow that gap a little bit. But if you are someone who is not into your own personal development, you are more of a person who loves to decorate house, who want to buy new stuff, who want matching curtains, cushions, and other stuff, when will you find time for this? So there has to be something where you can find a common ground, and that has to come with talking and discussion. So should be open minded to have that discussion gently. So what I feel, if you're feeling safe with the person, you can gently handle that discussion. But again, I'm not sure how this works, because again, it's a deviation from ideal, I guess. In an ideal situation, definitely two people will have conflicting beliefs, and sometimes somebody who's passionate about growth would try their best to avoid conflict, because it will save them time. They can work upon themselves in that time where they're dealing with conflicts.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I got a question for everybody. You know, everybody can take their turn on this, and it's basically this: what does working on your relationship? What does that mean? You know, whenever you find, because people say, "Oh, I got to find the ideal person." Does that mean that, okay, I want to find the person who makes it easy for me to be in this relationship with them? I guess that's a part of it, but every relationship takes work. But what does that work mean to you?
I'm going to say this, right? I've personally been in relationships before where I put in 90% of the work and the other party puts in 10% of the work. And it's very taxing, but it's something that I chose to be in the past. I think that what's healthy is for both parties to want to be able to grow together and work together. But what if you're in a relationship with someone, right? And, it's been years and both parties are comfortable, and one partner puts in a lot of work and the other partner is trying. They're trying, but it's not working. But both parties choose to stay together because it's the norm. It's what you're used to. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, once again, I like to default to the idea of ideal mate theory. So it depends on each person's tolerance, And to clarify, Meenakshi, I want to just take one step back before I take a step forward. I don't believe that somebody should lower their standards per se. When I talk about ideal mate theory and I'm interested in the deviations from the norm, I don't mean that you specifically, Meenakshi, should lower your standards, right? Everybody has a different tolerance for how much someone must align with who they are, right? And then a quick comment as well on the whole like working on themselves thing. I heard this actually on a podcast. It was actually a radio show way back in the day. This was before podcasts were mainstream. They were going back 15, 20 years ago. This host of some show where you could call in and ask for relationship advice. Someone called in and they were talking about some sort of behavior in their partner that they didn't like. And he said, anything that you see in your partner that you don't like, you need to ask yourself, if this doesn't change, is it something I'm willing to live with? So let's say you meet somebody and they drink a little too much. Rather than taking them on their word that they're going to cut back on drinking, you need to say to yourself, if this doesn't change, or if it maybe even gets worse, can I deal with it? If the answer is no, you're taking a very big gamble by entering into a relationship with this person. So, and then to what you were saying, Sasha, again, it's each person's ideal. Some people will stick it out to the bitter end with another person. There's a book by Vin DiCarlo called Pandora's Box, where he classifies women into different types. And I don't agree with everything 100% in this book, but he classifies women into investors and testers. So some women, he says, they meet a guy and they invest heavily into the relationship and they will like create their ideal man, or they'll try anyway. Other women are testers where they'll date a bunch of different men to find the guy that they want to be with, right? And everybody sort of exists somewhere on this tester and investor spectrum, right? One final thing I'll say as well is I do like the book, The Five Love Languages. I think it's a little bit of an oversimplification of some nuanced topics, but it's the idea that we all express love in different ways. So there are times where I'm working my ass off, and I'm not working my ass off for me. I'm working my ass off for my future, for my wife, for our family. If God willing, we're able to have a family. And this is sometimes my way of showing love. Like when I put in a 14-hour day, I feel like I loved my wife to the fullest, you know? And she could be maybe in a different headspace thinking like, oh, I thought we were going to spend some time together or something, you know? And maybe she's not feeling as loved. And then I explained to her, babe, I had to grind this out today. You were on my mind the entire time. And once we talk about it, we almost always find out we're on the same page because she's very much the same way. It doesn't matter if she's working, if she's taking care of her body, if she's spending time with her mom, whatever she's doing, she's always doing everything for the benefit of everyone in her life. But anyway, I'll just trail off there and let someone else take hold. Otherwise, I can keep circling around these topics.
I definitely appreciate what you were saying about people being investors slash testers. Yes, that hit home all the way. Because when you're an investor, it's very taxing, it's very draining. It makes you a dreamer and you're kind of delusional in a sense, I think, because you're wanting something. And if you're in a relationship with someone if you're looking at someone's potential, right, and you're wishing that potential onto them, that's not who they are. So it's very draining on yourself. So you have to know when to walk away. And I think that testing is better because when you test, you get to experience different people and different things, and then you get to choose, okay, maybe this person has the qualities I want, maybe not that one, maybe I like this. I think that's less taxing and way better for, when it comes to dating.
I like a little mix of both. I like if someone is just pure tester, then the first sign of difficulty in a relationship and they're out, right? And then if somebody's a total investor, they're just going to go all in with somebody and stick it out through bad behavior. So I think if we're going to generalize, I think there's kind of a happy middle ground that's sort of an ideal. Most people would hold that as an ideal. I certainly do. I'm glad that I dated around a little bit, but I'm also somebody who's been very capable of long-term relationships and sticking things out and working through issues. So
Yeah. So, but Joe's question was, how does putting in work look like for you?
That was
So
the
I will
question.
begin with the answer. For me, putting in work in a relationship looks like consistency. You should be consistent with what you said, what you promised, what you were in the beginning of the relationship. Not that it has to be exactly same, but consistent. If you're giving me an hour of your time every day, it shouldn't be like you start breadcrumbing me that I'm busy at work. That 1 hour a week is non-negotiable. And second thing is, if you are taking care of yourself, that reduces my work. I don't have to nag on people. I don't have to think about their health, sleep, mental health, and everything included. So you need to take care of everything, your finances. You should be someone who has a plan in life, so that sometimes when you're clueless, I can help you that, okay, this was your plan, just go back to it. But it's not that you dump every trauma on me that, you know what, my life is going bad. I'm suffering mentally, my finances are not in place, I'm not doing good in life. Some people do date for this reason, that they can dump all your trauma on you, especially if someone has got a healing energy. So that kind of drains you when you are listening to people's problem and you make their problems their own. It happens with women a lot, many times. It's more common for a woman to emotionally invest in men when they are struggling, and that's how things can go, where you're emotionally invested into relationship and you are thinking that whether should I break up or should I support. So just take care of your own stuff. If you need help, support, just get over it. Maybe you need some professional help. You don't need, for every problem, you don't need a girlfriend, actually. And the third thing is putting in work also means checking with other people's emotion. How do they feel about this? Just having that deep conversation. Not that every time you have to make every conversation deep, but just maybe once in a while, just have deep conversation around emotions, feelings. How does this feel like? So that how does this five love languages work? It's when you get to know a person on a deeper level, but if you haven't done a deeper conversation, you will never be able to know a person on a deeper level. Because for me to know myself on a deeper level, it also requires me to have an internal dialogue with myself. Otherwise, if I haven't had that conversation, it's all surface level. I also don't know if I'm telling you the truth. If I am not connecting with my deeper self, if I'm not checking in with my emotion, how can I tell you? So, checking in with emotions and connecting, making that connection deeper. So this actually counts as work for me.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here that I enjoyed, in your points. Number one, the frameworks, Eric. You mentioned Vindy Carlos framework, and I really enjoy his frameworks. But also, Meenakshi hit on a fun point, which I really enjoyed, and it's the topic of nagging. Nagging it's a terrible disease for humanity. I wonder if I wonder if you guys have opinions on the matter, because so nagging, like, what causes this illness, and how can we deal with it, and how could we prevent it? So just a question for everybody, if you have an opinion on the matter.
So once again, if I think when a partner is deviating too far from what someone considers an ideal, that could trigger them to nag. Like, hey, you're supposed to be this way because I think you're supposed to be this way, and you're not being the way that I think you should be. That could bring out some nagging type of behavior, right? Yeah, that's what brings out the nagging. There's also such a thing as somebody just being a little bit wired that way. So I think I'm generally a positive person. I like to just work hard and be positive and whatever, but every now and then the world just isn't right. And I'm like, this something's wrong in the world, and it starts infecting everything. And I start seeing that wrong everywhere. And that may spill over even into my relationship, where all of a sudden I'm, maybe I nitpick my wife about something, and she takes it in stride because she knows Eric's just in one of those modes where he's seeing the dark side of life. He's honing in on the things that he doesn't like, and it's maybe spilling over. And usually when I come out of that funk, I'll be like, hey, babe, I didn't mean to say this to you. I was in a certain zone. I apologize. So I think that for me personally, I need to be with somebody who's generally on the light side of the spectrum. I don't mind if a woman has her dark moments. She can have her dark side. The world can get all confusing. She can nag me a little bit, but I definitely don't want to be with somebody who nags me all the time. Like, you need to love me for me, including my flaws. That doesn't mean I'm not going to work on my flaws, but you're not the one keeping the scorecard on how well I'm working on my flaws. I keep my scorecard on my self-improvement, right?
Anybody else?
It's funny how you guys
Yeah.
are talking about nagging, because I've met women that are professional naggers. And to me, like, for what I've seen, it brings a lot of masculine energy into it. And the men that they are married to or dating, they stay for years, and they just take it all in, the nagging, and they still love them. And in my mind, I'm like, how are you guys making this work? because it just seems like a constant, like, there's no peace, there's no balance. It's just he's always wrong, she's always nagging, and they somehow make it work though. Never understood it. Yeah.
I think some men like it too. Some men love it. They're like, she treats me like shit. Oh, I love her.
Look, there's some very real science though too about around when a woman is hormonal, I'm gonna make a terrible analogy. I want to just preface this right now, okay? But I've worked with some guys that are on the spectrum, okay, on the autism spectrum. And sometimes when you say something to them or you trigger them, they cannot get that little smudge clean. Like you have to just let it run its course, let them have their moment of frustration or anger, let it settle, and then like come back to normal. And sometimes, again, I told you it's a terrible analogy. Sometimes when a woman is hormonal, and I think it's, related to that, or she's having some sort of mood swing, I literally treat her as if she's having an autistic moment, like an autistic client. Where like, I'm just gonna let her be angry. I'm gonna let her say some crazy shit. I'm not talking about my wife. Let me just clarify that. I'm talking about every other woman I've ever dated except my wife, right? But
Sure, sure.
if she's having a moment, sometimes you just have to let people have a moment and not hold it against them. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to confront bad behavior and say, hey, this is bad behavior and we need to work through this. Sometimes you need to just let somebody have a moment and let it pass. I think in my world, there has to be a little bit of flexibility and a little grace, forgiveness, right?
I can share my experience about it. I've been on both the ends. I've been nagged upon by a man, and I've been the nagger as well. What I feel that, when you know the result of something is going to be really negative for a person, and the person doesn't listen to you, you start nagging about every small thing, but talking about that big thing because it's not going to change. So instead of fixing the bigger problem, you're trying to fix the smaller things so that you don't have to worry about everything else. But again, it's something that you're trying to deal with, which doesn't exist, to make sure that you forget something that exists. It's like avoiding the elephant in the room by addressing the small ants in the room. Meaning, I'm sharing my personal experience. I knew that the person I really liked has terrible taste in friendships. Every friend that he had is going to use him for either drinking, smoking, money, or anything else, but to be his friend. And I know I can't fix it because he deeply believes that they are amazing friends. So I would start nagging everything that is connected to friends, probably his time he's spending, probably he should be focusing on work, because I know I can't convince him otherwise that the friends are bad influence and bad company. So maybe I'm just pointing out small things, anything that makes him see the bigger picture.
So it sounds like you're doing a tactical strike. Like you're like, it's like jab, 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 right hook, left hook. I'm gonna hit him over here and then over here, but I really want this. So tell me a little more about that. Like that's interesting.
Yes, yes. If I have to say it, if I have to tell someone that I've got a very big nose, I don't really point out to the nose, but I said, there's something on the face, there's something there's something on the chin.
Passive
Many
aggressive.
people can spot that. Yes, nose is the thing which is vague.
It's called passive aggression, okay? Uh, can we also acknowledge that there are quite a few men out there that nag in relationships? You hear the term nag and you think nagging housewife, right? I don't know. Yes, I've seen that before, okay? But I've seen quite a few dudes that don't know how to behave in relationships too. They've got some woman who's doing everything she can. She's, in my view, in my ideal, she's the pinnacle of an ideal woman, right? And he's finding reasons to nag the shit out of her and keep her on her toes. Like, let her be at peace. You know what I mean? Let her live her life. So I don't mean to generalize here, but I actually think it's kind of the opposite. I've actually found that women, generally speaking, tend to be a little bit more understanding of relationships, a little bit more tolerant, a little bit more flexible, a little bit more understanding that people need to grow and work through their own shit. And men tend to seem a little bit behind the ball. They seem to learn these things a little bit later in life. I've seen again, I'm generalizing, but right now the big debate, the male, female, the gender war, right? It's like, forgive me for all the other guys out there that are wanting me to represent men, but I feel like women have a little bit more of this lockdown, if I'm going to generalize. I've seen more bad behavior out of men in relationships than the other way around.
What do you think
Also,
causes
when
that
when
though?
women, oh,
What do you
sorry.
think causes them to react that way?
I think if I'm going to generalize, I think it's inexperience. I think most guys, I think women are socialized at a younger age into relationships and understanding all of these social nuances. I think there are other biological reasons behind this as well, social conditioning and so forth. But if we're just looking at, the current zeitgeist and social conditioning, I think that many men feel like, if I'm going to generalize, again, I'm generalizing here, but men just don't have the same experience. Women have more understanding of this because they've been in more relationships, or they've been hit on more times, or they've read more books about this. They talk about these topics with their girlfriends. They even watch movies and dramas and soap operas that deal with all of this nuance. Men, we tend to have less resources. Actually, I will say this, we have the same resources as women, I think, but it's generally frowned upon to pursue them, right? If you're having issues in your relationship, you have some trusted buddies that you can talk to about this, or you may just keep it to yourself because you don't want your male friends to know that your wife is walking all over you, right? So, this is a nuanced topic, but I do think it boils down to maturity, experience, knowledge.
I have a juicy point here to cover, which is, you mentioned earlier, you mentioned ideal mate theory, and then I can't help but think that a lot of people, when they think ideal, they think perfection. They think, okay, well, I want to find my perfect partner. And then I think an illness or a disease, we could call it, if I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, but sometimes not, is that, besides perfection, you have an expectation of having either this person become perfect eventually, or for them to just be perfect. So, could we make a connection there between ideal mate theory and an expectation of perfection from a mate?
So can you see this here? This is what I call the attraction threshold, okay? On one side of the spectrum, or one side of the coordinate plane, you have physical attraction. On the other side, you have personality-based attraction. The idea here is that everybody has a certain amount of physical attraction that they would like to feel for their ideal partner, and everyone has a certain amount of personality-based attraction that they would like to feel. And when you plot those two on a scale, on a coordinate plane, there's a connecting line, right? This represents sort of most people where they have a certain ideal of physical attraction they'd like to feel and personality-based attraction. However, some people have attraction thresholds that look like this. There actually is no deviation. This one has some flexibility where if somebody's not quite as good looking, but they make it up in the personality department, okay, you still fall within this safe zone, right? Or if personality is lacking a little bit, okay, they're really good looking, so I'll see how this works, right? But some people have a more rigid attraction threshold. Now, that's just attraction. We can also look at element two, which is what I call a psychological bond, right? The psychological bond, or element two, is actually composed of social element two and relationship-based element two. So social element two is like, would I even want to be friends with this person? If there was no romantic connection at all, are they at least a decent person? This is social element two. Do we align in that way? Romantic element two is, do I want to be in a relationship with this person? Do they fit the ideal that I have for a relationship? So we can plot those same points kind of on a coordinate plane. Okay, this person aligns up with my core values, but relationship wise, is it going to work, right? So we can imagine those two plotted points connecting as well. Some people have some flexibility. Okay, maybe this person isn't my dream person, but they have the same core values as me, or vice versa. Maybe this person doesn't align exactly with me in the core values department, but I think they're going to be great in a relationship for this reason, and so forth. Everybody has a certain rigidity in what they're looking for and a certain amount of flexibility. I'm not here to tell people how rigid or how flexible their threshold should be, right? If you want to be super strict and super picky, you've been through too much shit and you're not settling for anything less. That's it. You're drawing a line in the sand. You have a
Yeah.
very firm threshold, right? Uh, on the other hand, if you've been too rigid and too picky for too long, I don't want to say lower your standards, but maybe adjust the flexibility of your threshold a little bit, aka lower your standards a little bit. Anyway, these topics are covered in depth in my book. I'll pass it off now. Sorry.
Opinions. I mean, this is juicy. What do you guys think?
Meenakshi, what do you think?
Yes, indeed. I think I was falling into the first category where I was flexible before, but now I am very rigid. If I want this, nothing lower. Every box have to be ticked, tried and tested and put under stress test and pressure test. Because sometimes, how people approach you is, hey, what are you looking for? And if I tell him, I love reading books, hey, I'm reading books. I love coffee. It's like, how can be someone so similar? And later you find out they never read books, they don't even like coffee, and so it's like
Is
it's
that
like
the biggest deal breaker for you? Oh, no coffee?
I mean, I am just giving you examples.
Yeah.
It's not just coffee. It can be I don't start my day without a snorting coke.
I have a question for you, Meenakshi. Have you ever experienced a situation where somebody didn't exactly match all the ideals that you thought you had and you fell in love with them anyway?
Yeah.
Like I've been in situations, for example, where I'm thinking about 6 or 7 years ago, it was a short-term crush, but I went out on a few dates with someone. We hooked up. We had kind of a casual thing for a few weeks, and I remember thinking that I'm not fully feeling it for this person, and I thought there was a little bit of a lack of physical attraction, if I'm being honest. I thought they were a pretty cool person, but I was just, I don't know if I'm fully feeling this, if the chemistry is there, right? Well, somehow the tables turned. I don't know how she did it. She started withdrawing, she started breadcrumbing me. She would come over and see me, and we'd have these, really fun adventures for 3 or 4 hours, and then she'd peace out, and I wouldn't see her for a week, right? She turned the tables on me. I don't know if I actually fell in love with her or if I just got whipped. Would that be the term? Was I whipped? But whatever she did, this girl, this woman, she did not fit my ideal. And I've developed feelings, strong feelings. They didn't last. It didn't work out because once the tables turned, all of a sudden I was on the losing end of this spectrum, right? And now I'm grasping to get her back, and her attraction is dwindling. But you've experienced that, Meenakshi, where someone didn't meet your exact ideals and it worked out anyway? You fell in love anyway, or Sasha?
Well, yes, that's happened to me before. So with a specific person in mind, physical attraction, not really. What I grew to love about the person was we both love to read. We just had similar interests, and the person was really funny. So what lacked in looks, they made up for in other parts. Yeah, so that's happened before to me.
I never had an ideal partner, or I never did my value evaluation before. But what I believe now, love and relationship are two different things. You can fall in love with anyone irrespective of you wanting to be with them. Like, yes, I have fallen in love with people who I know I won't be happy with. But yeah, it doesn't have to be in it doesn't have to the love doesn't have to go the relationship way. But the
Here's
relationship is something which requires work, which the basis of relationship is that both people should be happy, growing, and doesn't need to be a situation where you're like head over heels in love with the person. You'll kill the world, you'll set everything on fire. I don't think that kind of mindset to pursue love is the good kind of mindset.
I think it really depends. I do think that love can start very passionate and heavy, or it can start more like a little spark and then grow. But as far as like when is it time to cut things off, this is what I typically tell clients, okay, when I'm working with a guy. Are you typically the type of guy that as soon as you find something that you don't like with a woman, you write her off, you break it off, and you go find the next one? Or are you somebody who sticks around too long, right? And what happened to me at a certain point in my dating career, if we can call it that, I noticed that I was sticking things out too long. I would meet someone, I would like them, I would sort of be into them, but there'd be little things that I wasn't quite sure about. And I'm like, let's see where this goes. 2 months later, I'm feeling the same way. Let's see how it goes a little bit longer. Now I'm in a situationship, right? They're having the talk with me, Eric, what is this? We've been seeing each other for 2 months now. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't know how I'm feeling, right? So what I said was, I'm going to start being like really upfront with women about this. So I would see a woman, we'd hit it off, we'd have some kind of connection, and I would pump the brakes early. I would say, hey, I just want to throw this out there. I have this pattern where I start seeing someone, I'm not quite sure how I'm feeling, and I say, let's see where this goes. And a few months later, I'm still not sure how I'm feeling. And now people's emotions are getting invested and hearts are broken. And I feel like guilty. And I feel like everybody's time was wasted. So I really like you. I really like everything that we've shared together. You're funny, you're beautiful, you're all these great things. But there is something deep in my heart that's just like, am I right in a relationship with this person? And I can't, I don't know. You know what I mean? So in the spirit of being sort of conservative and moving against my normal tendency, I'm ending things earlier as opposed to letting things ride a little bit longer. So that's how I'm feeling about this. And then from there, what I'll usually do is I'll either end it and I'll say, in on that note, it's been real, but I'm out, right? I don't say it quite so crass. I'll say it nicely, right? Or if I am enjoying my time with this person and maybe we have some other type of connection, it's not fully going where I want it to go, but we're having fun. Maybe I'll see how she feels about continuing to see each other with the knowledge that I'm probably going to be gone at some point soon, right? That's another angle that I've taken with that one. But I had to put that rule in place. If I'm not sure how I'm feeling, tell her up front, and then let her decide if she wants to ride it out with you or break it off. Because my tendency was to let things ride too long. And if your tendency is the other way, maybe you should stick it out. If you keep going through girl after girl after girl and you can't find the right one, maybe the next time you meet one and you have that feeling like, oh, this isn't right, pause, wait, spend another month or two with her. You can be upfront and honest with her. Don't string her along, but maybe stick it out a little longer. So I think it depends on where your tendency is and the results you're getting, right?
I am slowly becoming you.
Mhm.
I also like used to do that, sticking things around, checking if it's working out. But now I kind of met this guy on a dating app, and the very few conversation with him was like, oh my God, I'm super interested in you. I've never seen someone like you, and all this and that. And when we started conversation, I think the first conversation was okay because I did not talk a lot. Second conversation, I told him that I'm a coach. And from thereafter, I explicitly told him that I'm not going to coach you. But every
Uh-huh.
question, everything he was asking me was like free coaching. And I really wanted to end that call. Was just hoping that if I put the phone down, I'm straight away going to block him from everywhere.
Mhm.
Because you know how things are. If you know that people are showing such a passion towards you, and then your expectation just falls flat on face, you can't do anything. You can't give second chance. Maybe second conversation would be better. Probably he was in need of help. No, it can't. It can only get worse from there.
Also, like, I think there's a law, and excuse me, I'm eating, but there's a law in there's a book called The Kabbalion, talks about like Hermetic philosophy. It talks about like there is no hot or no cold. It's just different variations of heat. So when we're talking about like expectations and like rigidness, I feel like, and I have no idea if this has anything to do with the analogy I just gave you, but I'm just gonna go with it. So I think as we get older, like, and if you're in a self improvement space, your standards do go up and you do become more rigid on your choices, on what your expectations of what you want. You know, for me, like I'm almost 40 right now, and I'm like I'm going after hotter, better looking, more improved, just like the newest car on the block, like the Porsche 911, you know, of women. And then I remember in my 20s, I do anything. You know, I was like, it works. It works. You know, like it turns on. And now, so what do you guys think? As far as like age being a factor, as far as expectations, and how can we manage that? If we are, or should we just look harder? Let's say.
I'm going to go back to that ideal, concept of the ideal. So when I met my wife, I was 39 and she was 36. Okay. And some guys would say, oh my gosh, she's 36. You know, any woman who's 36 and hasn't been married and doesn't have kids is this, and this. I promise you that's not my wife. Whatever stereotype you think my wife falls under because she was 36 and not married yet, that is not the case. I have a rare, amazing, beautiful, intelligent, I'm so happy. I'm so in love. And this is coming from a 39-year-old. I've been a dating coach now for over 16 years. I've invested a lot of time and energy into this, and I'm fully capable of attracting a younger woman, right? I'm fully capable of my girlfriend before my wife, for example, was 10 years younger than me, right? I could have found a 27-year-old woman, spent 2 or 3 years traveling the world, selling my book, doing my coaching, and then, we'll worry about kids a little bit further down the line. But guess what? I fell in love with a 36-year-old woman, and my timeline on having kids and a bunch of other things has moved up a little bit, right? If we, God willing, are able to have kids and so forth, we got to kind of pull the trigger, right? Like she's 39 now, I'm 42. We've been together for 3 years. It's like, if we want to have a family, we have to do it now, right? So again, my ideal was an ideal of there's a certain tolerance that everybody has with their ideal. I'm trying to tie this back to what you were saying, Joe. You're saying as you've improved yourself, your standards have gone up and you're going after the hottest, the most self-improved, as you said, quote unquote, and so forth. I can't judge that. I can't tell you what's right or wrong. I do not have a rule book for the universe. I know that love has its own ways. So all I can do is give a person options and different variations, and then you create your own art. I show you the different paint. I show you the different paint brushes. I can show you how to do a few strokes, but I'm not here to tell you what your picture should look like. I'm not here to tell you what my ideal is or what you should be going for, what you should want. Your wife may be 23-year-old Instagram model with a PhD, right? My wife is now 39. She has a master's degree. She's incredibly intelligent. She's my it girl. She's my infinity. On the 1 to 10 scale, she's my infinity, right?
What is it about her that makes her different from other women to you? What does she do to make you feel the way you do about her?
I love so many things about my wife. It's hard to say one thing, but if I had to say there's one thing, it's the depth of her soul. I've met many deep women in my life. You women both seem very deep. In the limited time that I've interacted with you right here, you are both deep souls. I see this, right? And maybe if I got to know you, you have even deeper soul than my wife. I don't know, but I'll say this. I've met a lot of women in my day, and I've met a lot of deep souls in my day, and my wife has the deepest soul I've ever encountered. When I met her, I felt this magnetism channeling into her eyes and going somewhere infinite inside of her being. I don't know where it leads to, but I see it in her. I feel it in her energy. I'm speaking very abstractly. And I could get into so many other nuances about why I love my wife and what makes her amazing, but that's probably the number one. There's some sort of depth of spirit that I can't even fully put into words.
And I think that's a great point to hit. It's like, and what I got from that is, how do you balance out the classic attraction qualities with other important qualities like spirituality, emotional mastery, emotional control, emotional intelligence,
That's easy. That's easy. For me, those are all for naught. Like all the superficial attraction qualities, if she doesn't have a deep spirit, it doesn't matter. If she's super attractive, she's got a big Instagram following, she's this, she's that, she's cool, she's trendy. Like any superficial trapping you give me, like for me, I need a woman that has some sort of depth. If we have a spectrum of like very superficial, very deep, my number one quality that I look for is I need someone who's deep and not superficial, that processes life, that absorbs life, that's thoughtful, educated, wise, pursues knowledge. That is a core value for me.
but no, we can also hit that, like I said, nothing is static. Everything is moving. So, people are superficial at some points, and some people are on their way out of being superficial.
Uh,
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yes, yes. If
yeah.
my wife, like, forgive me, but if like knowing my wife now, okay, if God forbid, like, she was in some horrible accident and she didn't look like my wife anymore, right? And like I would still be with her, right? I've seen these cheesy ass memes online, like if my boyfriend was a fish, would you still love him? And it's this little girl holding the fish, like, oh, she's petting the fish. Have you seen that? Right? That's how I feel. If my wife was turned into a fish by some evil like sorcerer, I would love my fish wife for life. Okay. Now, that being said, I maybe would not have met her if I was not attracted to her at a certain level, right? There is a certain level. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. You guys are cracking me up now. There is a certain there is a certain level of physical attraction that needs to be there. I have other things that I'm looking for, but my number one is depth of spirit. And if a woman is shallow, there's no amount of anything else that can make up for that shallowness. I do not want to be with a superficial, shallow, judgmental person.
So,
Period.
so if for those of us who haven't found our fish wife or our husband, how does that look like? And then do you guys want to chime in on this, Sasha, Meenakshi? Like, if you had a fishman, like a husband fish, would you take care of your fish husband?
I would. I'm a very deep person, right? And I agree with Erik when he says you have to connect with someone on a deeper level. So I will gladly take my fish husband and take care of him because it's not superficial, it's more than surface level, it's deeper than that. So I'll gladly take care of my fish husband, yes.
I can't believe we're
Glad.
calling fish husband right now. I'm so sorry. Apologies.
I've even bonded with a tiny spider, the jumping spider. So I am okay with fish husband. At least it's slightly bigger. My spider died because I was traveling. I was in pageant. I actually felt that you accidentally kill spiders, cockroaches every day, but I actually deeply felt connected. It was a non-verbal animal because spider can't talk, and still that energy, her presence, I used to miss that.
I always believe when I met the right person that I wouldn't be able to squirm my way out of it. I wouldn't be able to rationalize my way out of it, talk my way out of it. I would meet the person for me, and there would be a gravity inside of her and a gravity inside of me that was inescapable. In other relationships, perhaps I could have made them work. I do believe that I've met some amazing women in my life, and I could have had a happy, beautiful life with many women. But I believed when I met the right person, I would be ready, she would be ready, all the stars would align, and no matter how hard I tried to swim away, I would get sucked into that vortex, the whirlpool, the vortex of love. And that's what I experienced with my wife. I won't get into too many of the nuances, but when we first started dating, we weren't sure if we wanted to be together. We weren't sure where it was going. We both sort of pumped the brakes a little bit. I sort of initiated the conversation, and she kind of said, well, listen, I'm not sure how I'm feeling either. And we ended up spiraling into each other anyway. So it kind of, I don't know if it worked out because that's how I envisioned it or if that's how it works out, but I was getting ready to travel the world with Mystery. The VH1's the pickup artist, Mystery. He's a good friend of mine. I collaborate with him. I've done boot camps with him. I was ready to travel the world, sell my book, meet a bunch of women. Hey, check it out. I wrote a book, right? Aren't you impressed? Like I was ready to go have some fun, and I thought I'm gonna meet my wife somewhere out there in the wild world, in the free fall. I met my wife online, and now my plans have been changed and disrupted, and now I can go out and network with people and show them my book. And so yeah, there's what we think's gonna happen, and then there's what actually happens, right? I never thought I'd be a dating coach. I thought at 42 years old, my kids would be 15, 13, and 11, and I would have a different life. And it's just here I am, dating coach for men.
Yeah, last time I talked to you, you were like, you're thinking of doing solar or something. And then,
Oh, no, I worked in solar energy back in the day. Yeah. So my coaching was a side hustle for many years, right? I had other sales jobs, I had whatever, and this was my passion project on the side, and it scaled into my full-time gig. This is what I do full time. I've been doing it full time for like 7 years now.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. What is the most surprising thing that you think that will be to people that you learn from mystery?
From mystery. Mystery has this ability to give people permission to step into whatever vision they have in their mind. And for every guy, that's a little bit different, but mystery very much lives life the way that he wants to live it. He talks about what he wants to talk about. He will cut the thread and interrupt you and bring up a totally like random topic if he doesn't like what you're talking about. I'm not prescribing this. I'm just describing, okay? I don't know if this is good behavior, right? But mystery lives life on his terms. He wants to focus on some new tech gadget. He does that. He wants to go out to the clubs and meet women. He does that. He wants to see his kids. He goes and sees his kids. He wants to sleep. He wants to talk. He wants silence. Mystery kind of lives life the way that he wants to. And I think we have a lot of guys that come on boot camp and they have some vision in their mind of who they want to be, and they're not fully stepping into that vision. And mystery has a really good ability by way of just transmission of his own way of being, of giving people permission to do the fucking thing they're afraid of. Be that fucking guy. You want to be a pickup artist? You want to meet a bunch of women? You want to find love in a relationship? You want to talk to that attractive girl that you think you have no business talking to? Why would she want you? Whatever. He has a really good ability to unlock that part of your mind and give you permission. That I would say that's the big. I've taken away many things from mystery. I've learned a lot from mystery over the years. And I don't agree with everything 100% that mystery teaches, but he's still my number one sensei, if you will. I call him my number one sensei. Next to the women that have impacted my life and next to my family, he has had a greater influence on me than just about anyone. And that is, I would say, one of the key lessons that I've taken away from mystery.
Wow. Wow. I think you said something there that, living life the way you want. And then we'll end with this point. Living life the way you want. That's what mystery, you think that's his best, where his most unique quality, which is like basically embracing and accepting who he is and what he wants. And I feel like most people and me myself as well, it's sometimes it's a struggle to find to get to know ourselves and to really, and there's a lot of frameworks for this. Strengths Finder, for example, the 5 love languages, for relationships. And so there's a lot of frameworks. There's a lot of personality tests and stuff like that. But, from being in a point where, let's say somebody doesn't know really who they are and they're having a struggle getting to know themselves in order to figure out the things that they want, and because I'm a big proponent and believer of this. It's like you want to find those things that pull you, that inspire you, that magnetize you toward, living life productively, effectively. It's not just about grinding and discipline. Those things are important too, but ultimately I think it's important to find what your uniqueness is. Like, what do I do better than everybody else, in my world? Like, and then also, like, a lot of people, like you said, like they want to be this thing or this other thing, but then differentiating between what's societally driven, like, do I want to do this because I saw this pickup coach pick up a girl and now it's like they're saying like, picking up women is the best thing, or like, if I grow up with a father for a pastor, and like, I can say, okay, this is what my father did, so this is what I'm meant to be doing. How do we navigate through that? And actually, like we said before, there's no perfection. Nobody's perfect. But how do we navigate through that, in a way that, would be the closest thing we could call, I'm living my purpose, I'm living my destiny, questions, thoughts on this, what would be opinions. I'm really curious about, this is one of the things that I've been thinking about recently the most. How do we navigate through that? And how do we find that thing, if there is such a thing?
I talk about this in my book. And once again, I don't have a rule book for the universe. So there are a lot of people that get out there and they're like, you got to have a purpose. You got to have a mission. You got to find what you're passionate about. Isn't it okay to just live and just take life day to day? That might not be your ideal. That might not be your ideal or your ideal. That may not be my ideal. But I'll give you a case in point. I was talking to a client one time who I thought was in need of a little bit of a kick in the ass. I was like, dude, you got to be like the star in your own action movie. You got to have a mission. You have to have a purpose in life, right? And I do think that a lot of people feel better having a purpose, like they mattered, they made an impact on the world. But this person stopped me and said, Eric, look, I really appreciate what you're trying to do, but that's you. That's not me. I think it's okay to just sort of live my life. I work an average job. I'm friendly to people at work. I go home after work and I just want to kind of chill and just do my thing. And that's enough for me. And I was like, it threw me for a loop, right? Because we're fed this message of you got to do this. There's a way you're supposed to be living life. And I think many of the people that give this advice are well intentioned, but I don't think it's healthy necessarily for everybody. And I don't think everybody needs to have such a grand mission. For some people, I'll give you one more quick case in point, right? My grandmother, she was very soft spoken, very humble, loved her family, loved everybody she encountered. Everybody that knew her as just a sweet, genuine person. She's not somebody who had a transformation course with 25 people paying, she wasn't doing anything other than just loving everybody. And many people would say even the jobs she worked were rather just regular jobs. She worked in a hospital doing administrative paperwork. And who's to say what purpose we're supposed to have? This is where, for me, I'll talk about my ideal. I have purpose and vision and goals, and I also try to balance that with here's what the universe is presenting me. I feel most alive when I'm working towards a goal, but I allow the universe to shapeshift that goal and mold me and take me to unexpected places. I like being on that balance beam. I'm not the person who's like, this is my mission and I must accomplish it. It's this is my mission, but let's see where the river takes me, where the river flows.
I like that you're saying that, because a lot of people do say you have to have either the purpose or, and a lot of people are so driven and focused on their purpose that they miss reality. They miss the little things. You miss, I don't know, spending time with your child or talking to your wife or being present. That's what the word is, being present. You're so focused on getting there and this mission that you miss out on presence. And to me, presence is one of the most beautiful things because it does something to you. It makes you feel good to be present. So that's important also. So maybe in life it's good to have both, but have your purpose, but also be present. And your purpose could be something major, or like I think you said your grandma, something so simple, just be present and be happy.
And to
Life's
tie
about
this and to tie this back into the theme of dating and attraction, right? We're constantly bombarded with this idea that if you are not the ultimate alpha male, you're not going to get any women. And I'm telling you right now, that is categorically wrong. It's false. It's bullshit. Okay. Yes, if you're more driven and you're more ambitious and you go to the gym and work out and you're in impeccable shape and you're just, this self-improvement machine, are you going to have more options with women? If we're going to generalize, yes. There's data and science to support this, and we don't even need data and science to support it. We can look out our window and see Leonardo DiCaprio has more options with women than Eric Carlberg, dating coach. Okay, right? He's Leonardo DiCaprio. He's on another level of what society would call high value, right? You don't have to be that guy to attract women. And if you think I got to become that guy and then I'll get women, women understand the idea of growing with a man. You know, let's say you are really this ambitious and you are going to be a Leonardo DiCaprio someday. If you meet the right woman, she's going to recognize ambition and spirit and a fighter inside of you, and she'll be with you for that journey. There's this idea that women wait at the finish line and they pick guys once guys have crossed the finish line. No, that's not true. Some women are waiting at the finish line. They're only dealing with the guys that have arrived, right? And I've often fantasized about that. Wouldn't it be cool if, I was rich and famous, and then I used my fame to attract all these women, and then found a woman to settle down with? Yeah, every guy's fantasized about, wouldn't it be cool to have the yacht and a bunch of supermodels on the yacht with me, right? But I also find it very endearing and romantic when I think of meeting my partner on my path to success. I didn't have it all. I didn't have it all figured out. And she was there with me through the struggle, through the grind, and then we arrived together at success. But anyway, I had to tie that into that bigger point, because this is the big gaping hole that I see in the community, in the dating advice industry is, no, you don't have to be that dude. You'll do just fine for yourself. Put yourself out there, even though your life is not quote unquote complete, because it may never be complete.
Hmm. I think what Joe was trying to say, I've been there too, in that place where you don't understand when you don't know who you are. But what my personal experience is, whether you know or not, you are actually who you are. You don't really necessarily know it right now, but it's in there. And when you just silence that noise that we have been repeating in our head, that these are the instructions, this, that, probably we have enough information. Sometimes the information is a bit too much, that we are trying to identify with something or other, and we feel like, no, we don't fit into it, and then we are trying to gain more and more information. But we are already there. We are who we are. And sometimes you just have to silence that noise, and it will automatically just surface. And when you know who you are, probably it's much easier to understand what your goal is, what you're looking for in your life in general. Is it the relationship that you're looking for? Is it something that you want to explore on your own, or you just want a temporary partner and you would want to explore the world with 5 different partners? It's not an ideal world about relationships. At different stages of life, you can have different relationship goals. Like you were talking about, in 20s you had different perception of dating and relationships. Now at 37, you idolize women a lot, that should have certain qualities. Yes, because this thing I have also experienced. When I was not married, I was doing really well in my growth and progress. But suddenly, when I got married into a family where they were still pursuing things that were 100-year-old. So I thought that instead of going forward, I'm going backward. So nobody want to go backward in progress. And if you're thinking about moving forward, there's nothing wrong in it. That's why we idolize a partner. That, okay, you don't want to grow, that's perfectly fine, but don't drag me back into somewhere where I feel, oh, it was such a waste of time. People were in that mindset 100 years ago. I don't want to go into Stone Age, which is perfectly fine. So who you are, whoever you are, you are. You are you.
Bring back arranged marriages.
In India, everyone get married. Doesn't matter who you are, your education, everything. Sometimes just I shouldn't say that, but I'll try to say it in a nicer way. Sometimes not so good looking men, just because they have got certain job, maybe a government job or in administrative services, they get prettiest girls ever.
Prettiest girls ever.
Yeah, just because, the arranged marriage.
Bring back arranged marriage.
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures.
Do you
of
really believe that, Joe?
I mean, I'm open to the idea. I mean, if
You want to make that more mainstream again, arranged marriages? You don't think people should choose like who they want to be with?
Yeah, well, so here's a pretty interesting perspective. You can go out there and try, and take dating courses or not, and just play the field and just try to find people and mix and match, and or hey mom, find me somebody. Like matchmakers have been around since the beginning of time. You have like a matchmaker, you hire a matchmaker, just like that's essentially what these websites do. They try to give you the tools to be your own matchmaker. Or like match.com, for example, they have like algorithms, where like they'll match you up with like certain things based on answers to your questions. That's how you find your wife online. So like if you just, your parents know you the best. So if they have a circle of young attractive they don't have to, young attractive nice caring, and they know you, and they see somebody that might be a good match for you based on the family. I think that like I've recently started thinking about this, the value of this more and more, because essentially where I'm looking at like a marriage, since ancient times, marriage has never been about romance and falling in love and feelings and compatibility. Marriage has been largely in history about bringing families together. Like, I have a daughter, you have a son. Let's bring our family together. Let's pull our resources together, and let's become successful. Not as a couple, as two families coming together. All your uncles, all your friends, all your families, all the connections you have made, all the progress you made in the world, and now you're making this bond with this new person that you don't know, but your families know each other. Everybody knows each other.
But
Yeah.
But real quick, Joe, let me jump in. Don't you think that people already kind of do that? So most people like go out there and date, and at some point they introduce their person to their family, right? So I think most people, again, I'm generalizing, but most people want their partner to get along with their family and friends. So part of the vetting process is, how will this person fit into my life? So it's not an arranged marriage in the truest sense, but if the child is raised with a certain mentality and certain standards and whatever, you're probably naturally going to select someone that your parents and family will like. That is a big generalization, because I know there are a lot of people that don't approve of their child's selection, right? But yeah, I mean, do you really think that, like, so for example, arranged marriage is the parents saying, hey, I think this is a good match, right? And not arranged marriage is the person saying, hey, I think this is a good match. And most people do check with their family and friends for approval as well. They may disregard their approval and do what they want anyway, but don't you think freedom is sort of a step in the right direction? I think it's
No.
generally, no, huh?
No, I think more freedom. Well, it depends. It depends on your level of, I think, your level of effectiveness, of your level of what is your competency in mate selection. If you're horrible at mate selection, then
Arranged marriage.
arranged marriage. If you're the best at finding somebody,
Then you get to choose.
then you get to choose. Yeah, based on
There
competence.
should be a test. Everyone should have to take a test. And if you don't pass the test, sorry, we're selecting your mate for you. You pass the test, you get to choose.
Yeah, because it's better
We're
for.
on to something, bro. We're on to something with this. We could start a business around this whole model, I think. I'm just off the top of my head.
Yeah, I got the VCs. I got the VCs. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Last Sasha, Meenakshi, last words. Let's end this. So, like, what do you guys think? If you wanna hit on this topic that I just brought up, or if you just want to do some closing words, up to you. Whatever you want to say.
Meenakshi, you can go first.
Let me breathe first.
Okay.
Arranged marriages.
Oh my God, Joe, you're fantasizing arranged marriages are like pretty too much. Probably you haven't seen the ugliest side of arranged marriages. I think in India it's other way around. People assume that kids are naturally bad at, selection of mate. So we will select it for you. Because what we look at families, if they have enough property, and what were their generations doing, how people start looking for like arranged marriage, how my parents would start looking for guys. Very first criteria is that it should be in same caste. Then second criteria is that it has to be certain income group depending upon my family status. And the third thing would be then qualification. It has to be slightly higher than mine. And the fourth thing is when all these three conditions match, then we have this kind of kundali whenever a person is born based upon date, time, place of birth. So these pandit, the Brahmins, they make a kundali for you. And that kundali has got 36 qualities. So there is a kundali for a girl and for a guy, then you match those 36 qualities. If it is more than 18, is an ideal match. Something like 50 plus, if the qualities match, then it's an ideal match. Otherwise, reject it. It's rejected right at this point. They will start looking for someone else. And if
Love it, let's do it.
yeah, and if 36 by 36 match, then also it's not an ideal match. You have to look lesser than 36 and more than 18. That's the ideal category for match. Then you have to find an auspicious date for getting married. That is also told by pundits and Brahmins, and they tell you the auspicious date to get married. And then you have almost 1 year where you follow the rituals, which include that a turmeric ceremony, and then the ring ceremony, and then there is another, there are like 15, 20 rituals just for marriage. So you can't just get married like that. It's an investment of whole 1 year where you just invest in the marriage ceremony itself, then the whole hunting process, probably 2 years. So if you have to look for a partner for your kids, it's like parents will take good 3 to 4 years to find, then 1 year for getting married. So you know why arranged marriages work in India? Because it's a huge investment of time, money, energy, resources, and plus you invite everyone. Indian weddings are no less than gathering of 100 people. 100 is bare minimum. People even have 1,000 plus guests in weddings.
It's an industry. There's a whole industry built around this, so you're not just changing people's mind. They got lobbyists and stuff that are protecting arranged marriages. I'm joking right now, but that's extensive.
I'm actually part of. I'm actually this podcast is sponsored by arranged marriages, but
the arranged marriage industrial complex or something in India.
Yes, and you know what? Here's a pretty critical point that what I got from when Meenakshi was talking. I didn't see like oppression. I saw a system that worked. So if it ain't broken, why fix it?
He should have asked this question at the beginning of the call, because I feel like this goes too deep. Meenakshi has too much to say on this topic.
Okay, probably we need another episode number 3.
Yeah.
No, but this is a important point though. The point is like, and back to the competency test. If you don't have a system, then you're basically improvising, and not everybody's good at improvising. And when you improvise, you're gambling basically. Like you're gambling that you may or may not succeed at this. If you have a system, no matter like how yes, nothing, like again back to perfection, nothing is perfect, but it's a system that does work. So whether it is a Lambo or whether it's like a Toyota Corolla 98, it works. And actually, you know what? I see it more like a classic, a classic Ford or a classic General Motors. In Cuba, they have these cars that are well made that are still working. They work and they look amazing.
But compared to what, right? So like for example, there was a time where women couldn't vote, right? And it worked, right? Like just the men voted and things worked. But did things work better now that women can vote? I say yes. There was a time where women didn't have, like, they weren't encouraged to go out in the workforce and work and have careers. If I have a daughter, God willing, I want her to be able to pursue happiness, whatever that means to her. I want her to be able to go get a job and vote and so forth. So I don't think that arranged marriages necessarily represent like the most evolved system. I actually think dating in Western cultures is more evolved and more advanced, and it has more freedom and stuff built into it. And I don't know what it looks like in the future. I think in the future, we're probably going to have AI matchmakers. We're going to have AIs that know everything about us, that know us better than we know ourselves, and maybe trying to match people up according to certain criteria. But I still think it's ultimately best if the person has the ability to choose, right? The AI might say, hey, you're a perfect match for this person. You go on one date with them and you're like, I want my money back. You know, what kind of AI matchmaker is this, right? You leave before they even open their mouth, right? But I do believe that we're going to have more and more advanced technology getting in the mix of this, but I still don't believe in it being forced. I believe if you want to use an AI matchmaker, go for it. You want to date the old-fashioned way, go for it. You want to stick with an arranged marriage, if there's a community of people that have arranged marriages, as long as nobody's breaking the law and there's no, marrying underage people and stuff, have your arranged marriages voluntarily, right? Where I have issue is where it's a central authority figure pressuring other people to do things a certain way. And I think that's kind of what Meenakshi is really talking about, is like institutionalized, sanctified, almost arranged marriages where you almost feel like there's no way out, you know? Like my mom is a very traditional Italian Roman Catholic woman, and my dad said to her when they were dating in their mid 20s, "Why don't you move into my apartment?" And she's like, "I can't." And he's like, "What do you mean you can't?" And she's like, "Well, we're not married." And he's like, "You're 25 years old. You can do whatever you want." And she went, "You don't understand how it is in a traditional Italian household. My father will not let me move out. I won't be able to move out." Now, she really could have forced her way out and said, "Dad, I'm leaving, I'm moving out." But in her mind, that would be the ultimate dishonor and disrespect to her father. So she felt compelled to live at home till they got married at age 26. Or no, they got married at 25. They were dating at 24, but you get the point.
Yeah, what I see with this is balance, because you could incorporate different things into this. For example, like left versus right. Like you have the progressives. They push for change, and some of that change is good, some of that change is bad. So then the conservatives correct some of those things, and then the progressives keep pushing. They need each other, like both sides. So basically, if you have like a law that comes into play which is like way like extreme, sometimes that's needed. So that's the way I see it, where like sometimes like if we go extreme, and I think in the dating world, bring it back to dating, we've gone very extreme into freedom and like not enough into like what's effective in finding out like a mate that is ideal, that is, like how do you are able to actually make a long-term relationship last long term. This definition, so that's
But still, does that necessitate a central authority figure like dictating that? I mean, I maybe agree with you. Maybe things have gone a little bit too far the other way, right? Like if you go too far into hookup culture, do you reach a certain point where it's difficult to have a stable relationship because you're used to the novelty, right? That seems to be, a thing, right? But do I believe in having like rules and governance restricting people's sexuality now? That's where I start to get like, and you say that the far left and the far right need each other. I think we need more moderates. Why do we have to live in such a polarized world that counterbalances each other with extremes? I think we should have more moderation, but I believe that people should moderate themselves. And again, I don't have a rule book of the universe. I shouldn't use the word should. That's just in my perfect world, there's a balance to be had. I do have to get off this call. Can I just do one last quick plug and then, or no, go, I want to hear what Meenakshi has to say before I leave. I'm going to stick it out.
It might sound funny, but like you said, that AI matchmakers are going to be trending. If you like arranged marriages, you're welcome to India. Get your marriage arranged when you think that, yeah, I'm done dating. Arranged marriage time.
Nice.
So travel dating is also new trend. If you're looking for certain types specific which exist in certain country and regions, you can always travel to,
If it doesn't work out.
marriage.
But do I have to have Indian parents to get an arranged marriage, or can I go get like foster parents and they'll find me an arranged marriage in India?
No. So your parents do arrange your marriage, but they are mediocres and brokers, marriage brokers you can come to India and tell them, I'm looking for an arranged marriage. And the broker can get you some ideal matches. All you have to do is just get the Kundali done for you, because that's one of the criteria people would want to match you
The
based upon your
brokers, sister.
Broker, marriage brokers.
marriage broker.
I love it. To your point, I think, and we'll go back to Meenakshi real quick, but I think that anyways, I forgot what I was going to say.
Like marriage brokers. You were about to say something about marriage brokers.
On that note, I'm going to dip out. If you guys don't mind, can I do a quick plug for my book again? I know I talked about it a bit already, but The Vortex of Love, How to Get a Woman to Fall in Love with You. I spent 4 years writing this book, 4 years. And there was a good year and a half where I was writing full time, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. I burnt through investment accounts and I was like, at a certain point, I'll go broke if I have to finish this book. I put a lot of energy and effort into the design of it as well. I highly recommend getting the paperback version on Amazon. This is not what you expect. Like, take what you think a traditional dating or relationship book is going to look like. Here's my tips and so forth. This book is different. This book gives you options. It paints a picture of the dating landscape in a broader sense, and it helps you customize your approach to finding an ideal partner. Whether you want love, short-term relationships, networking, social circle expansion, whether you like the idea of being direct and telling a woman right up front that you're interested in her, or taking a little bit slower. It's got stuff about mindset, tactics, techniques, different mate selection theories. I'm going to say, it's going to sound bold and cocky, but I'm going to say it. I've never seen as complete a dating system as this right here. It's very difficult to get through. It's 642 pages. So if you like quick, superficial reads and you want a quick fix, this is not for you. If you're ready to invest some brain power into actually transforming your love life, this book is going to be a source of meditation and creative energy. And I highly recommend getting it and reading it nice and slow and absorbing it. Thank you very much for letting me plug that, Joe. And I really appreciate this chat. You're always a great host, Joe, and Meenakshi, the co-host over here. You're always great as well. And Sasha, this is my first time meeting you, but I'm very charmed. Very nice to meet you.
Same.
Good times. Okay, I'm going to dip out, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Erik, for beautiful insights. I think it's like expert talking here. So we are just giving our inputs and getting a lot more in return. So thank you for being here. It was like great discussion with you for 2 consecutive weeks. Keep coming back. We'd love to have you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, see you guys. I'm out.
See
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Yeah, Sasha, last thoughts, and we'll wrap up here real quickly.
Sure, no problem. What hit home for me the most is when you guys were talking about staying too long in a relationship that no longer serves you. I've been guilty of that, and I'm sure many people have. I'm sure you guys have. And what Erik was saying is he had to come to a point where he had to tell the person, like, from the jump, you know what, this is not working, because there's only so much time we have, right? We don't want to waste it with the wrong person. So definitely, if you're in something that is no longer serving you, let it be known so you can, save yourself time and energy and move on. It's good for both parties. That is my biggest takeaway.
Yeah. Thank you, Sasha, for sharing that. So from what I got from this entire conversation is that, when we get a person in our life, we never check if the person is our ideal match, or were we looking for this person. Sometimes the person who we have in our life is our ideal match, but we fail to see because we are too blinded by all these things, nagging and idealizing perfect partner, trying to make sure that the person is flawless instead of focusing on qualities which we wanted in first place. Because if we wouldn't have wanted, we might not have interacted with the person so many times that we get to that stage of dating. So at this point of time, when you realize you have a person in life, check with yourself that, is this the person you idolize? If yes, then start putting work from today. maybe showing consistency, checking in with your emotions, how do you feel about it, and also check in with yourself. If this person is no longer in your life, how will your life be impacted? Sometimes we don't know how it will get impacted, which is why we let the person go and later regret it, and too egoistic to go back to the person and just try to work out things, because it's only going to get worse from there. So when you have the person, value it, put in work, and that's how you sustain the relationship.
I like that.
And then I'll close with this. I think the great philosopher Ben Shapiro said once that if you want to get married, you have to set the intention to get married and then find the person. You don't just date randomly and then eventually hope. You're playing, and I think that's a mentality that's like all over Western culture, and even it's it's spreading all the way across the world, which is it's like a gambling mentality where we're just like playing we're just playing cards or like like blackjack and hoping we'll get our hand dealt to us the best thing, when instead we made a decision, hey, I'm gonna get married, this is what the reason why I'm dating, I'm gonna get married, I want a life partner, and I chose to get married. Now, okay, next, so now the way I'm looking at people is not through the lens of, are they annoying or blah blah blah. It's more like, hey, is this person a good long-term fit for me? And then it's a different game altogether. you know you're no longer looking at people through the lens of like, is this person fun? No, it's like, is this person convenient, enjoyable? No, like you're looking at the world as like, no, I'm gonna get married and I'm looking for a person that specifically is gonna fit that role. And then now you can begin interviewing instead of like dating and like doing all. You throw all the dating rules out the window. It's like, oh, does he open the door for me or blah blah? Doesn't matter. What matters is the I think the 80-20. If we look at, if we're gonna interview somebody for a position, and I think Tony Robbins talks about this at length, which is like, make your list. Like, what is your list of things? What are your negotiables and non-negotiables? We talked about this with Meenakshi last time. Like, and then you can only really have, and here's the part we didn't touch, was you can only really have like probably like 4 or 5 non-negotiables, like very little. Everything else should be negotiable. It must be negotiable because you're never gonna find a perfect person. So if you have a list of 27 things like Meenakshi does, it's just you're never gonna find nobody, because there's no perfect human being. There's nobody that's gonna be a perfect person for you, and we got so many people, we got so many choices, but I mean, that's just my perspective. It's like we have to settle into, okay, what are 5 things or 4, maybe 3 things, or what's one thing? If you can even just choose one thing, if you only had one quality that was a non-negotiable, what would that be if you consolidate everything into one thing? Yeah, it's and everything else is like, okay, maybe now and then. Like, for example, it could be loyalty. Loyalty, that could be your thing, because if you meet somebody that if you just like Erik said earlier, if you're just looking, it goes both ways, men and women. If you're just looking for somebody that looks good, they might not be very loyal. You can think wishfully that the person you meet, you like them because they look good, and then now you're expecting them to, or you're hoping to see that. That's the problem. You're hoping now that they will be loyal, courteous, they will be faithful, they will be like amazing in bed, they will be like, they'll know how to cook, da 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 da. And then now you're like, oh, and then now it's like, now you're checking off the list backwards. And then whenever you find something like, all right, I guess he's not very faithful, or he's not like, he'll never cook for me in a day in his life because that's not his skill, and that's one of your most important things. Then you're like, oh well, I'm just gonna stick around because, oh my god, he's so good looking, or the same thing with men. Like we like, she's really hot, so I'm just gonna, I'm gonna stick around until it lasts and enjoy this while it lasts. But what that does is, we're not getting any younger, So if you want a relationship like your grandparents had, where like they've been together 50 years and they've worked through thick and thin, ups and downs, infidelities, all these things. At the end of the day, the first day they made a commitment and they said, we're gonna be together no matter what, and we're gonna die together. If you die first, I'm gonna be there, and if I die first, you're gonna be there for me. And I think just finding somebody that would be a good teammate and that has like one or two like main things for you, and then you could work everything else out. Like you got to negotiate. It's never gonna be perfect. I think that's the main lesson here. It's never gonna be. There's no perfect person. There's no perfect relationship. It's just a matter of finding somebody that, hey, you want to run with me? You want you want to try this? Let's go. I feel like we have the main things that we need, like, in order. And I think number one is just, are you willing to do this with me long term? And am I willing to do this with you long term? Everything else we can work it out. Like, there's no everybody's like trying to be perfect. It's like, oh well, like I want to, was it like for women now, like on social media, it's like 6 feet tall, uh making six figures, and
Everything.
6 inches or above. You you know and it's like all these like things. And then if there's the delusional calculator, we could talk about this in the next episode with Leon, because Leon is a red pill, so he's an expert at all this stuff. But it's like the delusion, they got this thing called the delusion calculator, where like the odds of you finding this guy who's still single, it's like less than 0.01%. So what that creates is this unrealistic expectation. What this creates is like the opposite thing of what you want in the first place. You got all these dudes who are just like super good looking and rich, and then they're dating 100 women, and then now, like, and then the women, when they date this guy, now this is their standard of this type of guy. So then when they meet a guy that's at their level, they don't accept him, they reject him, and they keep chasing this guy. So you got all these men, like you got a few men at the top who got all these things, and they're just like living their best life with all these girls that like are just coming and coming and coming, and then they don't stop coming. So they're like, all right, I'm just gonna enjoy this, and then nobody gets married. Well, actually, if the man matures, and eventually he's gonna find somebody that's a good match for him, and then all these women that try to get with him, like, they're gone. Like, they're like, now they got to start all over again. And the same thing with women. Like, if you got a really attractive woman that's like got her shit together, she's dating probably a lot of men, because they're asking her out constantly. So she's got a roster of like probably 15, 20, 30 men that, so I mean, that's it for me. I'm done.
And how long do you think it has been happening in US? Has it always been like that?
No, this is I think social media, obviously celebrities have always had their pick, but like now, like, social media influencing, now you have like this is a different game now, because like you have somebody that can build a following pretty quickly. They build a following on social media. They rent a Lambo or something, and they pretend now it gets even thicker, because now the man doesn't really have to have these things. He can just pretend, for like, $5,000, he can rent a Lamborghini or like a Bugatti or something, and then now take pictures. Now he's like, I drive a Bugatti, or I drive a Lambo. And like, sometimes you got a group of men and they all like rent one together. They all spend like $500 and they all rent one, and then like now they all own it on pictures. It's like, like, I got this Lambo, like,
I see them all the time. That's why I'm cracking up. I see these pictures all the time, and I'm like, yeah.
yeah. And it's like the bottom of the barrel type, philosophy, where like uh you're basically you're showing resources. I have resources. This is my Lambo. This is the resource. At the very core, it's like, I have resources. And then if you want resources, come with me. It's a sales pitch, right? And And then the other men who don't have the resources or don't know how to do this stuff, and they're following this guy, and then now he's like their influencer. He's the person that they follow and they listen to every word and they try to be like him. So yeah, it gets very complicated pretty quickly, because like back in the day, like in ancient times, you had like one guy who was the king, and then you had like people who had money, but there are very few, and then you had this for influencing, though this is pretty new. For influencing, you had this one person that stood at is that a white flag? Is that a white flag that they're giving up?
Sorry.
You had this one person in the town square, like Shakespeare or somebody. It's like, behold, that was influencing back in the day. Like, behold, I have the book with all of the mysteries. Listen to me. I will show you. And then most people didn't know how to read.
Oh.
But you know what? When you have this kind of dating where people are attracted to your physical appearance, and now that guys are influencers and they are flaunting a certain lifestyle, don't you think that rules out the probability of fake dating someone? You are attracted to some lifestyle, and the person is able to give you that, even if it is rented or something like that. Aren't you attracted to wrong thing?
Yes.
If the person is giving you a temporary relationship, you should know that certain kind of dating patterns will have this kind of drawback. If you're looking for something long term, then you have to go out of this flashy lifestyle. That's what Erik was talking about, that you see the person's soul deep, and that you cannot see with flash. You have to go into that flow state. So I think now the probability of attracting the right match is much more higher, because if I am flashing certain kind of lifestyle, I know who I'm attracting.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of people out there that are flashy. They go out, they rent the Bugattis and all these cars to attract certain types of female, and they're attracted to each other, and it's fine. It doesn't last.
Of course not.
It doesn't. It's so superficial. They'll figure it out eventually, though.
Yeah,
If you want depth in a relationship, that's fine. But if you want depth and longevity, I think you just have to connect on a soul level, like Erik was saying. That's it.
Yeah, and the only way to do that is, I think if you go back to the Bible, it's you got to learn to listen. Like, listening, observational skills, like, are key here. And the only way to listen, like, at the bottom of it, like, we could talk about listening as a skill or listening as a core identity, where like if you're observing and listening with intent to where like, and the only way to do that is you have to be willing to empty your cup. And what does that mean? Empty your cup. You got to let go of all the knowledge. What did Jesus say to the rich man? It's like, he's like, I want to follow you. He's like, you want to follow me? He's like, let go of all your possessions and give them away to charity, and then come follow me. And I think, in a metaphysical sense, all of your thoughts and all of your beliefs and opinions, those are your possessions. You need to give those up if you want to get to the next level in your life, because your possessions got you to this point, and your possessions that you have now are just baggage to get to the next level.
I agree.
And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I also believe that. I believe that things that you don't want to attract, don't be in close proximity of those things. For example, if I don't want to attract a person who drinks, I wouldn't want to go to a bar, because it's a higher probability the person who is in bar is going to drink. So if I want to attract a person who's looking for soul deep connection, who's in long-term relationship, I wouldn't look for that kind of person on a dating app, because one of the reason people are on dating app, I'm not really sure how it works in US, but in India, or even on matrimonial sites, people look for like plenty of fishes. That every week, every month, every 6 months, I can have a lot many girls. I can keep dating. I will never run out of women until I am 70, and probably I'll die. because of my bad lifestyle. That's what men are currently into, who are constantly looking for dates. That's what I've observed. I've been on dating apps, not for dating, but just to check what men want. And yes, it is what it is. They say that, yes, I don't want to marry. It's a casual relationship. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, yeah, and but yeah, I mean, it just depends what you want, and I think like getting to know yourself is important. But then really deciding, like, like, because if you don't want to have a happy marriage or even a marriage in general, that's fine too. Like, so it's just like Jesus never got married. You know what I'm saying? He was out there living his best life until he was not. And then he lived an even better life because he transcended into.
Yeah. And the primary purpose of marriage is the purpose of marriage is primarily to have kids. Now, women can have kids without marriage. Even men can have kids. So you don't need marriage to have kids. But if you want love in your relationship, that's a whole different story. If you want to love and you don't want relationship, that is also a different story. You want relationship without love for growth, to learn from person, that is also okay. But you should know your why you are pursuing a person. That makes things a lot more easier for you and for other person. I think dating nowadays is becoming more sorted because there are a lot more vivid variety of relationships that you can be. Ideally, it was either you are dating a person or you are married. Now there's situationship, there's benching, there's breadcrumbing, and there's a whole lot of things. So you know where you are in relationship. You know what's your position. So that if you don't accept that status, find a better option that you are looking.
I'm moving towards the point of like I want to be a better listener and a better observational person, like a better observant of the world around me. Because there are a lot of things, like I think you said this before, where like if you're focused on a certain outcome, you're missing life, you're missing reality. So like for example, I just went and got a breakfast burrito, and I was like focused on this call, and then like the ladies at the front counter, they might have been a great connection for me in my life, but because I was focused on this, I didn't see that. And that scenario goes on all day. Like if you're surrounded by people, if you're out there experiencing the world, and you just want a specific outcome, you might get a better thing if you look at the world spiritually. It's like, well, I'm here, I'm present. Let's see what happens. As far as like I have my virtues, I'm gonna be kind, I'm gonna be gentle, I'm gonna be, hardworking, I'm gonna do da da da. No outcome intended, just doing the right things every day. Like that guy who I think Erik said, he's like, yeah, I just want to be kind to people, and just I don't really care about making a lot of money or anything like that. I just wanna chill and like relax and like, relax. And I think that guy could have a better societal impact than the guy who's just trying to out there to make money. He probably has like a negative societal impact.
Or if you're too focused on, I want to make an impact, I want to make an impact, and you're yelling around the neighborhood and telling everyone, don't spread garbage, don't like litter on street, it's less likely that you're going to make an impact. Everyone is more likely to hate you and throw you out of the neighborhood. So, being intentional about impact is something different, and aggressive about making an impact is going to make even a negative impact. That, what, yes, it's important that you have purpose in life, but if you don't have purpose, then you will deliberately try to make everything your purpose in life. So don't do that. Don't just
Right.
like randomly find purpose in things that you don't really want to have purpose in. But your purpose will come find you if you're just serving and being present, and you're finding your own peace, because your purpose can only resurface from within. You can never find it outside.
Yeah, because your purpose could just be to be kind. That could be somebody's purpose. It's like, what if your purpose is just to be kind and nothing else? I mean, that's powerful right there if you think about it. And I think it goes back to like expectations and like the list. Remember we were talking about the list of like the the things in the relationship, what about the relationship with yourself? Like, what about your relationship? You know, like, what is your list for you? You know, like, and what is your main thing for you? Like, do you want to be loving? Do you want to be kind? You ultimately you attract like who you are. You know, if that's true, we'll see if that's true. So if you just chose, like, hey, I'm gonna be a more observant person today. I'm gonna be a better listener. I'm gonna pay attention to my surroundings and the people around me, and I'm just gonna be loving and kind and awesome. You know, to people that I come across. That might be a better prescription than, oh, set your goals, meet your outcomes, and kick ass.
I agree with
Yeah.
both of what you're saying, especially Meenakshi with the whole, I have to make that person is so freaking annoying. It's like, shut up. You can make an impact. You can make an impact, but be subtle with it. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, too much. Just like this Zoom, we've too much already. Let's.
It's exactly midnight for me.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we got a lot of good things here. And then we definitely got a lot of topics. I like the direction that these are going because now we're exploring different territories and things, and I'm excited about what's to come. We'll see. Like, we got, like, I think the point of this is gonna be to have better conversations and get better over time at doing the content. And we spoke about, like, even making it like more controversial. But I think ultimately, like, besides the brainstorming sessions, I would like to us to actually start creating some content, which is like, like rage bait or clickbait, just for the purpose of, like, getting views and clicks and stuff like that, so that we can start growing the community online, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe the purpose could just be of this. It could be just to exist and observe, then that would be the rebrand. Observe and listen to the world around you, and let's talk about it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Or discussing extreme scenarios of situations.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, let's definitely like, I'll put together the next one, and yeah, let's connect. Sasha, are you done with school? Because you said you were like extra busy with school.
Yeah, so there's a class that I should be in right now, and I kid you not, I probably tried 10 different ways to get to this class, but the universe is like, no, you're not going. I'm talking about 4 different cars and Enterprise being booked. Like, I'm not meant to be in the class this week, so I'm not. I'm here. Let's see how this goes. But yeah.
We pulled you from the class with our
Yeah,
energy and intensity.
yeah.
I got to San Diego, California. I'm going with the flow here because, like, logically, like, safety is in Florida, but I just said, let me let go of logic and let me just go with this and see. And things are working out great right now. So, going with the flow, like, whenever, like, even if your mind is telling you, hey, like, I should do this or I should be doing this, but then, like, if you can step back and say, there's something here, let me just go with the flow and see what happens. And then that's where I'm at right now over here. So, Sasha, Meenakshi, it's a pleasure again. Let's definitely talk next week.
Yeah. See you next week. Thank you, everyone, for
Take care.
your valuable insights and experience sharing. See you.
Welcome to the Zoom food. Yeah, step in, wipe your feet, this a focus zone. White belt tied tight, but my mind fully grown. Bow to the moment, sensei say be here. I silence the noise, make the vision real clear. Phone face down, I don't scroll, I don't slip. While they thumb through distractions, I sharpen the grip. One target, one flame, let it burn in the dark.